so like what I think again, it's kind of like the Romania argument, where it's kind of like this shit is corrupt, but we all have access to participate in the corruptness, right? And I feel like that's what kind of like Ack and Whack and others saying, right? Is listen, like, we got a shit ton of money right now. You feel me? Like if Trump when it comes back and give some breaks to the elites and right, and help us finagle the system a little bit, let's do it. So it's kind of like this shit is already corrupt as is. Trump just symbolizes, listen, he's gonna open up the corruptness to more people.
Destiny, what are the best, most concise arguments to use against somebody who is, objectively a low information voter who has decided that like the cultural tide has pushed them into the arms of Trump?
You always have to like find out why people are voting that way.
Right.
That's like the important one, because the way that people get there is going to determine how you try to get them back, or at least make them think a little bit differently. So it's going to be way different depending on the voter.
Right. But like because to the average person, I don't think Whack 100 or the baby could really like articulate Trump's policy decisions that they support.
No, of course not.
It's a personality thing. They see him as being an unabashed male individualist capitalist like themselves, and they resonate with that. And they don't get that from Biden, who is essentially a reanimated corpse.
Well, so like you'd vote for Trump, right?
Again, right? For me, like my I guess like vote for Trump like would probably be, listen, I can't tell you like detailed policies. I can just tell you that
no,
like,
you don't. I don't need
right,
policy. I understand.
yeah,
Most people don't give a fuck. Yeah, but like so.
Yeah, right. But again, right. But for me, like life was just easier.
Sure. Okay. So
4 years ago.
Do you know anything about like the Central Park Five?
Yeah.
How do you feel about Trump in that?
Really? Again, right. At that time, pretty much everybody thought.
I'm pretty sure he still defends it. Didn't he write an article like defending it like fucking 20 years later or some shit? Or like even like
he held on for dear life with that. What about the Obama birthism shit? Do you really think that's
crazy?
Is that a good person? Somebody who holds on for dear life to the idea that Obama wasn't born in America when he absolutely knew.
I feel like that's where people mess up, right? So like,
because I don't think that those are terribly convincing arguments for somebody like Whack. Like to say like, oh, he did something 20 years ago that was fucked up, because somebody like Whack is saying that about himself. I did fucked up shit 20 years ago. I was a criminal. I was a gangbanger. I did all this fucked up shit. So they kind of like that about Trump, that he has such a fucked up past. Because and the fact that he doesn't feel any kind of guilt about it, because they relate to that.
Yeah, again, right? Like we all know Trump isn't a good guy. Like that's clear. But I feel like, for example, like most of us, like we can't go into like foreign policy and tell you policies, right? But I can walk down the street and see gas is $8. You feel me, right? So so just how my life was affected. Now maybe Biden got the shitty end of the stick. You feel me? Took over, like a shitty situation. But life was just easier when Trump was in office. So so most of us just going back to what we know.
And that's just like the lowest information policy. Like
I don't like to call it that. I don't like.
I know it's not useful to say that.
Because some people, that will be the start and end of their engagement with politics, is economics, right? And if you have shitty jobs, like unemployment was really low under Trump. The economy was obviously like taking off before the coronavirus kind of detonated everything.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, like I can understand some people's engagement with stuff like that. The only thing I would point to is that like it's hard because people have feelings about it, so it's hard to look at numbers. But like if you look at like the years preceding Trump, under Obama, like shit was all headed in the same direction. Like it's not like shit was like fucked and then Trump came in and like boosted everything. Like stuff was going up. Like you can look at all the markers from 2008 up to when Obama was out of office, then when Trump came into office, and it's just like a steady climb the entire fucking time. Like, but people will feel like under Trump things changed and it got so much better. It's like, man, that shit was happening before Trump. I think we were posting all-time highs again in like 2013 or something under Obama, and then they just kept climbing and climbing and climbing.
I just like find it really hard to have the Trump conversation with people where it seems like their support of him, like the reasons for supporting him, are so abstract.
Well, it's a very emotionally driven thing, and you have to be able to meet with people on an emotionally driven level. Otherwise, you sit here and argue like, well, what about when Trump went to North Korea and legitimized Kim Jong Un on the foreign stage? You're like, nobody
the
gives a
real
fuck
nigga
about
shit right
like
there,
that.
though. Listen, again, people are not even like pro-Trump; they're just anti-Biden.
And people are so numb to like, okay, like the Mexicans are rapists and killers thing, which was really kind of in my opinion, sort of taken out of context or used in like an unfair way against him. Like I don't think that argument will ever work on anyone. It's completely useless to bring that up. Not to mention when he said like the very good people in Charlottesville, how there's good people on both sides. Like that shit was but it was misrepresented. No, it wasn't, because he was like very direct. Like if you watch the entirety of the clip, that he was talking about how there were legitimate just Republicans there, like conservatives there, that there wasn't, not every conservative was carrying a tiki torch.
I think that what Trump represents for people, for black people, white people, anybody, I think is you kind of have the establishment, which is like all the shit. And for some reason, whatever reason, it feels like over the past 10 years, a lot of people have kind of gotten fucked. Whether it's true or not, it feels that way. You have that feeling. And then you can vote on one of two people. You've got one guy who's like, I'm part of the establishment and I'm going to make your life better. And especially if you're black or certain minorities, you've heard that shit your whole life. And then you've got another guy who's like, the establishment is fucking bullshit. Like, let's blow it up together.
Exactly.
And you're like, you know what? I fuck with that. And that's the mentality, I think, of a lot of Trump voters. So when you come at them and you're like, well, don't you think he's really rude on Twitter? It's like, yeah, I think he is. I kind of like that, actually. Like, well, don't you think he's like making a lot of trouble, overseas? Like, I've never been overseas before. I don't have a passport. I don't give a fuck. You know, I think at the end of the day, it's that like, it's like this anti-establishment. It's like, this guy's here. He knows it's all bullshit. We know it's all bullshit. At least he's saying it's bullshit. And you've got like, did he make some comments about like Mexican judges and whatever shithole countries? Yeah, sure. But liberals say that shit too. They just say it when the camera's off. Fuck them all. I think that's like the general feeling for Trump. And that's why you can't come at it with like, well, what about his tax policy? And it's like, motherfucker, I don't even get earned income. I don't even file taxes. I don't talk about his tax policy. I don't give a fuck. I think that's the issue. You have to meet people where they're at for why they vote on the things.
Right.
No, like he's not wrong, right? Like again, also too, like why like black folks like would never vote for Biden is, for example, like shit like the Asian, hate crime bill, right? Bro, like and he promised niggas a bunch of stuff, right? He gave us lofty dreams, came into office and ain't give us shit. You feel me? So like at this point, like I think Biden would never get the black vote again.
No shot. I think old black people love Biden.
Yeah,
I think they do. Young stuff is different, but I think old black people love Biden.
All right, people, we just hit 300,000 subscribers. We're trying to hit 400,000 subscribers. So that little red button, tap it, tap in. Appreciate y'all.